Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have stories in dealing with a possible alien Bigfoot encounter, and now world-famous UFO photos showing a cigar-shaped UFO and a triangle UFO that were taken over the ocean. Both articles are incredible, and the photos that come with the UFO are truly amazing. Either way, let's start off with this article. Montana Nagoda witness convinced Bigfoot is an extraterrestrial. Let's start off with this brief blurb, and then we'll get into the real story, folks. When I saw the creature, I immediately turned the car around, stopped the car, and jumped out to see if what I was seeing was a real animal or something that was faked. I applaud this man getting out of his car and taking a better look at this creature, but that's just a brief blurb from the story, folks. As I said, let's get into the real thing now. In 1963, 5 of my cousins and I were driving around a town on the Fort Belknap Indian community in north central Montana. I'm Nagoda descent when we witnessed a really large Bigfoot standing on the hill in front of a full moon across the roadway that we intended to drive on. When I saw the creature, I immediately turned the car around, stopped the car, and jumped out to see if what I was seeing was a real animal or something that was faked. As I stood out of the car watching it, I could see many features of its body and face. The main thing that I noticed was the size of its potbelly and its long hair down over its shoulders. Its legs were shorter in comparison to its body, and its face was more pointed at the chin and jaw than a lot of pictures that I have seen on film and books of Bigfoot. It was standing on the west side of the town, looking to the southeast of the town at an area where a large canyon road with some old mining roads that at the time could only be driven on by one car at a time. Before we left to go down the road to find the local policeman of the area, I yelled a couple of times to see what it would do, but it just kept looking over in the direction of the canyon. Okay, folks, this Bigfoot had shorter legs compared to its body. So, is this a feature of Bigfoot's perhaps? I've heard of other stories involving people witnessing Bigfoot describe Bigfoots as having proportionally the same kind of legs as we do, folks. But then again, I myself have kind of shorter legs and a, bigger, bulkier body than, other people. But I'm not a Bigfoot, folks, even if I am a little hairier. But this could basically be just a, thing with this particular Bigfoot, or maybe it's something else entirely. Remember, this guy tried to basically signal Bigfoot to see if he could get its attention, but for whatever reason, it was ignoring him. That is kind of a red flag to me, folks, because usually you'd think a Bigfoot would be wary of humans, even if they're a fair distance away from him. And the fact that these people were able to watch it for several minutes, that is another thing that basically, makes me uneasy, folks. Perhaps this Bigfoot didn't care that these people were watching it because it was on some sort of mission, perhaps. Maybe something was going on in that canyon that took precedence over even by being witnessed by humans. What that something is, I just don't know, folks. But maybe we can speculate about it after we finish off the article. This year, I started reading the book called Ra, the Extraterrestrial, in which a female channels Ra, while a man with a couple of PhD degrees asks different things about world mysteries. Ross said that Bigfoot was a creature that had come here from another planet 6 million years ago because their planet had been blown up into a million pieces due to a war with another planet. The Van Allen belt is millions of rocks that orbit our planet and is full of radioactive rock, according to Ra, because they used atomic weaponry in their war with another planet. Ra said that Bigfoot was senior because they needed a planet to finish their evolution, but they live in caves around our planet. Since I read that they live in caves, I find that satisfies me about what was happening with Bigfoot because there are many caves and old abandoned mines in the Little Rocky Mountains of Montana and the Badlands that are between the mountains and the Missouri River. I had always wondered where Bigfoot stayed before I read about its cave-dwelling preferences be. And this is why I'm looking at this article today, folks. And while it's on the woo-woo side of the UFO and Bigfoot question, it makes you wonder that maybe Bigfoot might really be an alien, and why this Bigfoot was looking at this particular area. Now, it's been said before, folks, that some Bigfoot have been seen coming out of UFOs. Maybe this Bigfoot did come out of a UFO, and it was here maybe to monitor the Bigfoots in the surrounding area. Maybe that's why it was looking at this little area where there are known caves. Maybe it was basically going to check on its, cousins or something, see how they were doing on Earth. Either way, folks, let's read this next article. U.S. Navy sailors' secret UFO UAP photos, and talk about these photos that were taken by a U.S. Navy serviceman, folks. And apparently after that, the photos were taken by the government and basically kept classified. And in fact, one of the photos has written on it, if it's released to the public, the one who did so will face criminal charges. So it is indeed a very, very interesting, folks. Either way, let's get into this article and read, well, about it, and then look at these photos for ourselves. A secretive set of photographs emerged in July 2015 showing two identified objects near a U.S. Navy submarine. The pictures, which had been withheld from public release for years, are believed to have been taken in 1971 by sailors aboard the USS Tipang submarine during a mission near Iceland. So as you can see, folks, what I just said basically corroborates what basically has happened with these particular photos. And here's the first one. And this photograph shows a cigar-shaped UFO that's enveloped with mist and smoke. Now, I heard that this photo shows that this particular UFO was basically entering the ocean. Either way, the next photo we're going to look at is what some people have described as a TR-3B, but it doesn't look exactly like the rumored government triangle-shaped UFOs. It looks a little more alien to me, especially with its chrome metal finish. But I have to say, folks, if this is indeed a triangle-shaped UFO, it might be one of the best ones I've ever seen. And while the photo itself is a bit blurry, it's certainly truly bizarre. But let's read more of this article that came with these photos, folks. The graded photographs include one of a black triangular object flying low over the water and a series of shots showing a large cigar-shaped object which appears to crash into the sea. In fact, everyone, these photos show that these vehicles were basically coming in and out of the water, crashing back into it after they exited it. For whatever reason, we don't know why they were doing it, but people have speculated this was maybe because these UFOs, well, have a base nearby, and maybe they were, I guess, test running them perhaps, because, well, I don't know exactly why they were doing it. Here's another photo showing, well, one of the UFOs, the cigar-shaped one, in fact, basically either exiting or entering the water. And apparently, as I said, folks, these photos clearly show them both entering and exiting the water. Here we see another UFO, well, I think, crashing directly into the ocean. Either way, as I said, folks, we don't know why they're doing this. As I said, people have speculated that there's a UFO base nearby. So do you think that's why these UFOs were there, folks? Maybe doing some sort of dry test run or something? Or do you think that maybe this was, well, something else entirely? Now, do you think that they were controlled by the government and this is why they were being witnessed by these U.S. Navy servicemen? Perhaps this was all some sort of plot to basically have these people witness it so that they would, as I said before, folks, basically tell the public about their experiences and that UFOs are real. Because sometimes I get the feeling that maybe the government wants people to believe that UFOs are real so they can use them as some sort of political tool, maybe in the future perhaps. But then again, that doesn't actually explain all the secrecy around UFOs, because the government wants to paint aliens as evil. All they have to do is basically say that they're kidnapping us and then basically, well, maybe start some sort of war effort to basically stop them if they want to basically use them as some sort of political tool, right, folks? So why are they basically being so secret about that if they want to use the aliens as a, well, a political weapon? Either way, we don't know. Either way, let's finish up this article. The images were already sent to the French paranormal magazine Top Secret by an anonymous source. However, very little else is known about their origins or authenticity. They have certainly got UFO researchers scratching their heads and wondering and speculating that UFOs have a base in the Arctic region, said UFO researcher and author Nigel Watson. They are an odd selection of pictures that feature types of UFOs that have been regularly spotted by witnesses in all parts of the world. Airships or cigar-shaped type craft have been reported since 1896, when there was a great wave of phantom airship sightings throughout the USA. An inspection on one of the pictures reads official photograph not to be released CT. Another reads unauthorized disclosure subject security certificate SSN 674 criminal sanction, meaning that if you basically release this photo, I think it's trying to say that you will be prosecuted for it. Either way, folks, I'm going to end this video with the last two photos I haven't got to yet. Here's another cigar-shaped UFO, folks, that is very, very intriguing. Now, this UFO almost looks like a classic flying saucer, but seen straight on, so the fact that you see it straight on, it looks like just a flat cylindrical object. Now, if this thing were to turn around, or basically maybe turn, well, on its side, would we notice that it's actually a round UFO, like a flying saucer? Or would we see that it is indeed a cigar-shaped UFO? Either way, let's take a look at the next photo, folks, which shows another cigar-shaped UFO, and I have to say, yeah, this definitely looks like a cigar to me, folks. Either way, very strange. But we're at the end, folks. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.